Let's cross to the Ukrainian capital. Gulliver Cragg is our correspondent. Gulliver, tell us where you are.
Well, I'm on the street that was hit, and I think I can clarify this debate about whether it was a missile factory or a residential building that was targeted. Look, there behind me on that side is the missile factory. You can see that it suffered significant damage. Whether or not it was actually working or producing any missiles is something that's classified information. We don't know that. It certainly wasn't working at full capacity. Whether or not this damage that we can see constitutes full destruction of this factory is also a moot point. This is a target that we believe Russia already tried to hit back in March, but basically failed to do so. And then on the other side, you have the residential building that was hit a bit further away down there. We think that there were two missiles. One of them hit its target, the other one didn't. That's basically what happened. And so, of course, civilians have suffered, not only in the building that suffered a direct hit, but actually all the buildings around here have got smashed windows. One person died, and it's pretty lucky that it was a building that was only recently built, and most people hadn't yet moved into the apartments there. That means that the numbers of civilian casualties are not much higher. 1 dead and 10 wounded is the total at the moment, according to the Ukrainian authorities.
This time, the strike happening in the center of town.
Yes, this is the closest to the center of Kyiv that has so far been hit, though the margin isn't very great compared to some other strikes that happened. And apart from the fact that hitting what it deems to be military targets is part of Russia's general strategy, and it happens on an almost daily basis that in various parts of Ukraine, afar from the front line, such targets are hit. So in a way, hitting one that's in Kyiv isn't qualitatively different from hitting one that's in another city. Symbolically, clearly, it cannot possibly be a coincidence that Russia chose to hit a target in Kyiv on the very day when Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General, was in town. At the very least, it's a signal of disrespect to him and his institution.
You mentioned at the beginning claims and counterclaims over this attack. What about when it comes to the fighting that's taking place on the Eastern Front?
Well, the Ukrainians today say that they have taken control of a strategic locality to the northeast of Kharkiv, and the story in recent days has been that the Ukrainians have been doing pretty well in making some counterattacks in that direction, and Ukrainian media are making much of that success and somewhat less of where they're not succeeding so well, which is in the Izium direction, in the southern part of Kharkiv region, the northern border of the Donbass region, Donetsk and Luhansk, and there Russian forces appear to be inching forward. But what Western analysts are saying is that they are moving very slowly. Perhaps that's because they're not able to move forward faster, or perhaps it's because the Russian forces are trying not to make the same mistakes that they made in northern Ukraine, where they basically moved forward too fast and their logistics weren't able to keep up with them. But it does seem as though they're advancing a bit in Donbass region. And then in southern Ukraine, Ukrainian counteroffensives and attempts to try to retake parts of Kherson region don't seem to have come to anything. If anything, it's Russian forces who are moving forward, with the mayor of Kryvyi Rih, which is in Dnipropetrovsk region, even saying that they could be planning to attack that city, therefore moving even beyond the borders of the southern Ukrainian regions that Russia, according to one of its top generals, considers part of its plan of the part of Ukraine that it wants to take control of.
Yeah, and we'll be getting an update at the bottom of the hour from southern Ukraine. Gulliver Cragg, many